Hello and welcome to another Edexcel iGCSE Computer Science past paper question. This is paper 1, Principles of Computer Science. I have already covered 4 of these questions. I'll put a link above to the first one. Today we're looking at question 5. Part A. Ships carry cargo around the world in containers. Containers come in 2 sizes. So the 2 sizes are small container or large container. Figure 2 shows an algorithm written in flowchart symbols. So I've got start, and I've got volume 1, which is set to be 24, volume 2, which is set to be 48, min volume is set to be volume 1 divided by 2. So input my width, my height, and my length and do some calculations. So what I've got here is a trace table, and I'm tracing through this flowchart. I'm given width, length, and height there, and I need an output. And each one is worth 1 mark. So I'm going to start with the first one, 4, 4, 2. So go back up to the flowchart. Now I'm afraid I'm going to keep scrolling up and down, so that's the way I'm going to work. If it was obviously in your exam, you would be flicking backwards and forwards on the papers. Maybe this would be on one side of the paper, this would be on the trace table, will be on the next. That would be the easiest one. So let's start there. Input width. The width is 4. Input height. Height is 2. Input length is 4. So rec volume equals width times length times height. So width times length times height. So that's 4 times 4 times 2. And I make that to be 32. Rec volume is less than min volume. A decision there. So rec volume is 32. Is it less than min volume, which is 12? No. So I'm going to go up to here. Rec volume is less than or equal to 1. Okay. Well, volume 1 is 24 and 32 is not less than or equal to that, so it's a no there. Rec volume less than or equal to volume 2. Volume 2 is 48 and 32 is less than 48, so that's yes. Requires large container. Down there, stop. So the first thing I'm going to write in here is requires a large container. Because with that volume, you need a large container. Right, let's do the next one. 2, 2, 2. So that's relatively easy to remember. So input width, input height, input length, rec volume. Width times length times height. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So rec volume is less than min volume. Yes. Min volume was 12. So the answer is that this is too small for a cargo container and we need to stop. So I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to type in too small for cargo container. So make sure you write that in exactly as that appears there. Okay, the output. Right, next one, 385. Okay, so remember you're doing this without a calculator. 3 times 8 is 24, and if I multiply that by the height, which is 5, it gives me 120. Now, I don't really need to go through this again. I know, without even tracing it through, that when I get to this point there, okay, rec volume is definitely greater than volume 2, which is 48, so it's going to be too large for cargo container. So with the volume of 120, we are too large for cargo container. So that is the answer to that, and that is 3 marks. So what is the purpose of the algorithm? Well, that is to find out the size of the container needed for the cargo. So my answer there is to find out the size of the needed for the cargo to determine the size of container. put a capital T in there. Just back up. Okay. So it seems to be choosing a random font size for me there. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe just enlarge that a bit so you can see that a bit better. That's a bit better. Okay. So just enlarge these as well, just to make them a bit clearer for you to see. There's the answers there. So for 1 mark to determine the size of the container. Apologies for the typo there. Okay, I know there's an E supposed to be in there. I'll drop that in there now. So that is A. Question B. Each ship is registered to a state. Figure 3 shows a partly completed algorithm written in pseudocode. Completed algorithm must print out each state to the display on a new line. Count the number of states. Create a message as a single string, e.g. there are however many number of states there are. Print the message to display. Complete the algorithm in the space provided in figure 3. So if we look at this, we've got a partly completed algorithm in Edexcel pseudocode. At the top, we set num states to be 0. And then we set states to be, on the second line, to be 6 elements there: France, Singapore, Malta, Panama, Greece, Italy. And then we've got a for loop. Now, each of these bullet points is worth 1 mark. And my code needs to start here in the for each loop, because I need to loop through each of the states. So I'm going to start my code here. Confusingly, there's space left there, but I'm not going to write my code in here. It needs to go in the for each loop. It needs to look through each of the states. So the first point is asking me to print each state to a new display line. So for each state, I'm going to print out that state. So my code is really, really simple here. Okay. It's going to be send state to display. Okay. So I'm going to send that state to display. So for each state, I'm going to send the state to display. Right. Second bullet point. That's 1 mark now. Second bullet point, count the number of states. So as I'm looping through, I need to record that a state has been looked at in the element of the array, and I need to add to the count. Okay, so I'm going to set number of states to be num states plus 1. So as it goes through each element of the array, it will add 1 to number of states till it gets to the end. And obviously it should end up with 6 being the number of states, which there are. Right. Next bullet point. Create a message as a single string to print out their number of states there are. Print the message to display. So that's obviously going to come out of this. So I need to print out what I found out, how many number of states there are. Okay. So send quotation marks. There are quotation marks. Now, I need to print out the num states, and so ampersand num states, so and num states and states to display. So that will send there are, and whatever number there are of states, so whatever's in quotation mark will print off on the screen to display. And that is how in Edexcel pseudocode we do an output. We print a line. Send whatever I want to send to display. Okay, so that is the final bullet point there. And that covers all of the 4 bullet points, and that is 4 marks. So we'll go and look at C. Just want to draw your attention to this. This is a blank page here. So obviously not going to write on anything there. It's just left intentionally for printing purposes. And we go to question C. Cargo ships have maximum weight loads. Figure 4 shows an algorithm written using pseudocode. The algorithm shall identify the size of cargo ship required for any road. There is an error on line 9. So each line is numbered, and there's 20 lines. There's obviously a couple of gaps there. This is my algorithm I'm looking at. So question 1, 2 marks. Trace tables are used to identify errors in algorithms. Complete the trace table for an input of 50,500 to show what happens due to the error on line 9 in the pseudocode in figure 4. You may not need to fill in all the rows in the table. So I've got 50,500 found false, index 0. So let's go and look at that. Okay, so here's load weight, and index 0 is 20,000 there. So I need to type that in to here. So we start off with 20,000 there. Okay, so index 0, we are at 20,000. Right, next line then. Okay, enter weight, receive weight while not found do if load weight index is greater than or equal to target. It's not. So index equals index plus 1. So I'm going to go and look at index 1 now. Okay. So index 1, what are we looking at? 28,000. So we type that in there. We'll write that in. If I was an exam, so written exam, I'd write that in. Okay. Now just quickly, we can see that the index is not greater than or equal to target. It's 28,000. It's definitely not greater than 50,500. So we are still on false for found, and index equals 2. So I need to put in false there. Now if this doesn't change, I don't actually need to type that in. You could avoid typing that in or writing that in your exam until that actually changes. And we are now on index 2. So what is index 2 then? 40,000. Okay. So type that in there, or again, if this is my exam, I'd write that in. Again, it seems to be changing my font. So I'm just going to ignore that though. Okay, well 40,000 is not found. It's not greater than or equal to 50,500. So I'm just going to, as I've already started typing this in, I'm going to type that in again. I don't really need to do that. It's a bit kind of obsolete really to do that. Now I'm on index 3. What have we got at index 3? 50,000. Okay. So index 3, there's 50,000. 50,000 is not greater than 50,500, which is our target. So index equals index plus 1. But as I've now run out of elements, that's where I'm going to stop for 2 marks. So the question 2, construct a single line of pseudocode to correct line 9. There's a problem with line 9. If we look at line 9 there, while not found do. Now, obviously with 50,500, we didn't find the correct load weight. But what it should do is it should send no ship available to display, and it's not going to do that because it's going to keep looping. It won't ever break out of this while loop because it's while not found do, and with 50,500 it's not going to find it, and it's just going to keep adding to the index. We've got something like an infinite loop there. It's never going to stop. Okay, so we'll never get to the point where we print out no ship available to display. So I need to correct this line of code. Okay, so my correction here, I'm going to type in, it's going to be while, I'm going to keep the while loop, okay, while not found, so I'm going to keep that not found in, okay, but I'm going to add an and, index is less than length load weight. Okay, close brackets there, close brackets again, do. for 2 marks. And what is that saying? Well, index not found and index is less than length of load weight. Okay. Load weight being the array, so less than the length of it, do. So when it reaches the length of it, it will stop that loop, and you can print out, you can print out that final line, no ship available. And that gives me 2 marks. And that completes question 5. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.